So I'm asking, are we not loving God with our whole heart, mind, and soul when we affirm and claim that God creates each of us equal to himself? If I accept the statement that all men are created equal, if I want that equality, I have to accept the wholeness of it. And the wholeness of it is God is the one that's creating equality here. So by me accepting that completely, I'm loving God with my whole heart, my whole mind, and my whole soul. And are we not loving our neighbor as ourselves when we agree that God endows us equally with certain unalienable rights? I mean, do unto others as would have done unto oneself. Are we not loving, am I not loving my fellow citizens by believing that they are the same as me, that they are literally gods walking about? They're, they're Jesus Christ. This is what we're talking about. I mean, yeah, of course it's a meditation and it's a thought. But how else do you think things happen in this world? They happen through thought and will and focusing ideas and not letting up. That's how things work. If you don't think so, well, then you need to think somewhere in the direction because that's the truth. So we are. We're doing the first and second commandments. The first commandment is to love God. Well, we're doing that when we accept the fact that God created us. And the second commandment is to reflecting on that equality of the first principle. Then we realize everyone's getting certain unalienable rights. And endowment really is the best way to look at that is that God is giving you his person. And so now you have his person and all the citizens have his person. So isn't that loving our neighbor as ourselves? Because if I love myself as the person of God and I love my neighbor as the person of God, am I not fulfilling that commandment? Yeah, I am. Tom Jefferson, he placed us safely in God's care. Yes, he did. Because this revelation has been waiting for all of us for 234 years, right up to this moment. This revelation comes to us now because it is now that it is needed. And Jefferson foresaw this day when government would lose its way. And that's really what's happening in this country right now. The government has lost its way. We Americans of July 4th, 2010 are now confronted in our faith in America because the citizens who are in control of our present government have demonstrated their corruption by overtly and hard-handedly suppressing the freedoms of Americans, by interfering with American farmers' freedom to grow whatever plants they decide to plant, by making unnatural laws against that which our Creator, who has endowed us, has made holy, cannabis for example, by giving aid to enemy regimes like Saddam Hussein, and making American citizens pay for treasonous aid, by making alliances with enemies of freedom, South Korea, Colombia, Taiwan, every country that we're giving money to. They're enemies of freedom. By engaging in unjust wars and causing the death of innocent people, by causing the needless death of American soldiers in wars of aggression against the peace and liberty of the American people, thereby violating the very principles that are set forth in the Declaration of American Independence. The principles of democracy, the principles of liberty, the principles of respect for others, the principle that we're only going to defend ourselves, that we will not attack, and that's a violation right there. A war in Iraq, for example. The regresses for such violations by any government are clearly declared when Jefferson's words blare forth as a command to all patriots. Yeah, this is heavy. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. We have reached the juncture point in the expansion of American liberty where any tyranny over the mind of man needs to be swept aside as destructive of the end purposes of liberty. The end purposes of liberty it requires a free mind. And you can only tell what a mind's like by the expression of the person. So, tyranny of the mind, this is an expression that Jefferson used in his oath. I was sworn on the altar of God, eternally hostility against all forms of tyranny over the mind of man. And he's talking about Satan, okay? So he clarified his thinking about this. This is Thomas Jefferson, about these rights that I'm saying, that when the government is acting destructive of our rights, this is when we have to take this government to task. We have to alter it, which is what I recommend, or we have to abolish it. And I'll tell you what I recommend in a couple minutes. But this is what Tom Jefferson wrote in 1786 in the Virginia Act for Establishing Religious Freedom. The rights hereby asserted are of the natural rights of mankind, and that if any act shall be hereafter passed to repeal the present or to narrow its operation, such act will be an infringement of natural right. So, Jefferson is not only, he's not just talking about a theological viewpoint, he's talking about natural. What is natural? What is the natural deal? The agreement signed by these 56 Americans is the embryonic foundation of the political system upon which our nation is to be constructed. Obviously not constructed right now. These defining conditions of our democracy are spiritual in nature and constitute the spirit of America. Yes, hello folks, the spirit of America. Taking the self-evident truths in a strictly literal sense brings forth the religion of freedom. The Cambridge Dictionary says, religion is the belief in and worship of a god or gods or any such system of belief and worship. The words that define the religion of American Church of Religious Freedom are clearly stated when it was written in the Declaration of Independence, American Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The 56 signers of the Declaration of American Independence clearly and unanimously established belief in and worship of a God. In the two self-evident truths, they certainly did. They established belief in and worship of a God. That's a religion. So when they, you say, "Oh no," listen, I'm not making this up. This is it here, right here, and I'm reading in the dictionary what the definition of a religion is, and this fits the definition of a religion. So if you want to then twist the dictionary and everything to get out of establishing the fact that our country is based on a relationship with God and an agreement with God, set up by God, if you don't want to accept that, then you're not an American. I don't know what the hell you are, but you're certainly not American. You tell me you don't believe in God, don't tell me. I don't want to hear it. Because by this definition, your rights depend on your belief in God. And if you go around saying, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in God, and other Americans are listening and say, well, then he's not an American, because we're believing in God. We're believing that he created us equal and that our rights come from this authority of God. So if this guy doesn't believe God, then he doesn't have those rights. Technically speaking, kick him in the ass, tell him to take a hike. Got nothing to say. He's not an American.